Okay, so I'm going to try to explain what pulse paradoxis is, and that's in conjunction with cardiac tamponade. All right, so they both go together. So first we're going to talk about what happens during inspiration, because this is when pulse paradoxis happens. It's a drop of 10 millimeters of mercury or more in your systolic blood pressure during inspiration. Okay, so that's the key. So what happens is, as we all know, our diaphragm goes down, our chest wall expands, and then that causes there to be less pressure in here because there's more space. So there's more pressure outside than there is inside, and so the air comes in because the pressure pushes it in. So while there's less pressure in the thoracic cavity, there's also less pressure pushing on your vena cava. So in that sense, it can be a little bit more open, more blood can come in, so that means that more blood rushes into the right ventricle. So when the blood rushes into the right ventricle, I'm just going to get my thing here, it causes a lot of pressure all over here, okay? So it expands, there's lots of pressure. It puts pressure on the septum, which is right next to the left ventricle, and so that makes it go in a bit. So because there's so much pressure pushing this way, this left ventricle can't actually expand as much as it normally can during inspiration. So that means that's during diastole. So that means that since it doesn't fill as much, there's not as much pressure in there, and when it recoils to push it out during systole, there's not as much pressure then, so the force is less. So the only cause of the pressure during systole is the pumping of the left ventricle. So a slight drop of blood pressure during systole is normal. A slight drop during inspiration, okay, that's the key, is normal. But what happens when we have some pericardial effusion, it can drop even more. Okay, so this is a pericardial effusion. Pericardium is the sac that surrounds the heart, so if there's fluid in there, then that can put some pressure on the heart, okay? So the way Tanya likes to remember it is pericardial effusion is a little bit of liquid, but as soon as you get to be a cardiac tamponade, that's a lot of effusion, and you're going to need a big tampon to soak that up. Okay, tamponade, tampon. Now the way Mary likes to remember it is, I like to eat tamponade. So I guess if you're a cannibal and you like to eat tamponade, you could eat the human heart, and then you just have some nice extra sauce on it from this effusion. So it's like really fancy if you're a cannibal. Now, don't get them confused on the test. Tamponade is something that a human eats. Tamponade is the cardiac effusion. Okay, so don't blame me if you get it wrong. Sound the same, but they're different. Okay, so what happens is their pressure is now already right here. So when we take an inspiration, lots of blood rushes in, but because there's already so much pressure pushing on this side, all of the pressure goes just to the septum. So that pushes the septum in towards the left ventricle. Now there's probably some effusion on this side too, and that's putting pressure on this side. So during diastole, this thing really can't expand hardly at all. So if it can't expand that much and get that much blood in there, then it doesn't have very much force to push out during systole, thus the lower value of 10 millimeters of mercury, milliliters, mercury, sorry guys, or less, okay? So a little bit of a drop during inspiration and systole is normal. A large drop is indicative of now you have to go in and see what's wrong with this person because there's something wrong. So it could be a tamponade, it also could be COPD. So I haven't found out the mechanism how that works yet, but when I do, I can let you know. And can't remember what else I was going to say, so that's it. Oh yeah, that's the reason why it can cause death. You're like, well, how can a little bit of effusion around the heart cause death? Well, because this cardiac output is less, and that is the only pressure that's going to bring your blood throughout your entire system, down to your feet and back up to your heart. So if this is less at the beginning, then what's going to come back is less, and this will fill even less. And so it's just a cycle continues of less and less blood going throughout the heart. Less blood goes throughout the heart. That means oxygen isn't going around to all the cells of your body, and it means that these coronary arteries are probably not getting enough oxygen either, and then you can go into shock and the heart can stop and you can die. So there you go.